He doesn't take it back from you. He allows you to utilize it however it is, you see fit. Hopefully, you use it to the benefit of His glory. Not only that, but to share, with other people. To get out here and to vocalize your thoughts, your beliefs, because it has been afforded to you to do so. So we cannot afford to squander it. In addition to that, I would say we do not have the luxury to forego any opportunity that we have to make change. I feel at every turn, it seems that there's something going against our rights. You see, freedom of speech, a big thing with us recently has been censorship, prison reform, undue punishment, where the punishment does not fit the crime. People are doing, I think, crazy time for non-violent crimes, where others might just get a tap on the wrist. Right. So I just don't feel, well, I know for a fact we can't afford to sit back, and voting is important, especially for us.
Thank you, brother. Brother you flew all the way down here from New York. You flew or drove?
I flew.
Okay, all right. That's not bro. You strong man.
I ain't gonna lie though, when I was growing up in Norfolk, like going to school, I used to take that China bus. I would never do that again.
You elevated a little bit.
Just a tad.
So your work over at the United Masters, you do a ton of work working with artists, working with musicians, also allowing them to get out their art. Same question for you that we have for Brother Malice. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you encourage those who are making artistry to use their art to spread a positive message?
I think a lot of what Malice said means a lot to me, because at the end of the day, to have a skill, like we was all growing up, and like basketball coach used to always go up to the tall kid who didn't play on the basketball team, like, man, you so tall, why don't you play basketball? And I think like you gotta look at your right to vote like that. You gotta look at any skill that you have like that. Like, why would you misuse something that you have that God gave you? And I think that for me, it's such a blessing to be able to hear so many stories and give people that look just like me the opportunity to share it. I think everybody is like human nature to want to be seen and heard, and music is a way to help people do that. And I think like that same validation you get when somebody tells you that your shoes look nice and your clothes look nice, or like you smell good, is that same validation I've seen where like artists are able to like make their mother proud, or their sister proud. And I think like when you go into the polls, you don't have to be an artist to make your mama proud, or your grandmother proud. So I think like when you look at voting, think about not voting and who you're doing that in spite of. And I waited in lines for Chipotle that were longer than lines to vote. So it's like, there's really no excuse.
That's a bar.
You know what I'm saying? If you can stand in line and, wait to go to the concert this weekend, you can stand in line to vote. The concert is going to be a lot shorter than those 4 years that will go on if you don't vote. So I think like, just don't take things for granted that quite literally we're in a space that we could potentially lose if we don't make the right choice.
Wow, well said. You learned that here?
I didn't have the pleasure of going to Norfolk State. I went to a little.
Yes, that was pretty good. Got to show everybody to figure out how to get him back. Something. All right, so moving on. Another question that we have, Red, let's come back to you real quick. So, obviously, Red is in your name. Faith is something that's very important to you. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you use faith to be able to activate and motivate young people or persons who may be a little bit of older age to get involved in community work?
No, most definitely. Can I add on something?
Please, brother.
I think it's one thing that I've noticed too, because I'm obviously in the industry, and one thing that I've noticed a lot of times is that it's an interesting thing that happens. A lot of times people talk about the streets, and the streets actually helps them then get to the suites. And it's interesting that transformation about when somebody literally has nothing, and they're living their lives, and then they go from literally having nothing in many cases, and then going from that to having millions, or having thousands, or having millions of followers, or whatever. There's something that happens, because now you're sitting in different parts of the plane. You're sitting in different kind of hotel rooms, and there's a transformation that happens to artists there. And so a lot of artists sometimes have a tendency to forget about, they still connect the music to the struggle, but they sometimes forget to connect the movement to the struggle. And so one thing that I would say that I think that both Malice and I said was so important is that I get the words of Bell Hooks come to mind, that the rage of the oppressed is not the same as the rage of the privileged. And so I think a lot of times for artists, they have to not forget where they came from. And that's actually what Tony K. Barbara comes in at, when she says the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And so I think that one of the things that happens here, a lot of our artists, they don't want to forget, but it's a thing here when you are living, you begin to live different lives. I know Malice can speak to this, and Mark can speak to this as well. And even for us, even professors and teachers and doctors, when your lifestyle changes, you come into Norfolk, say you're hustling, and now you're living in this, $700,000 home, and you're living, your kids are going to schools, you forget about public schools, and you forget about the importance of public education. And now you try to just get into private and charter school, or you're forgetting about, you now have health care, and you're forgetting what it means to not to have health care. And so I think that the key thing here for artists is just because it's amazing to have your life be transformed, but don't forget where you came from. And I think that's an important thing. That leads to this other part of this question. So Hip Hop Caucus, I believe that the reason why we have existed for 21 years in this space, and I want to keep it a buck, is because a lot of times the space for being conservative and the space for being progressive still is a space that's built on white supremacy. And so a lot of these spaces that may either be progressive or liberal sometimes don't have a tendency to change up. Handle differently, but they still change up. And I think that one of the things there for being hip hop is that I believe God's word when it said that I will use the foolish things to confound the wise. And so I think the reason why we existed and have done so well is because we, one, used our faith, but more importantly, in our faith, we've been able to kind of hide. And that's also an important element to this also. I think that in this moment, I think this is a faith moment. I don't think you can do this work without having faith. It's something invisible to pull on. I'm a Christian, so I pull on that. That helps me. But I don't think you can do this work. And you can't do this work if you're jaded, or you're bitter, or you're cynical. You can get away at 18. I've seen a lot of jaded, and cynical, and bitter 18-year-olds because they've gotten away post-COVID for many other reasons. So faith is critical to do this work. And why I say that is because why faith is important, because faith then removes the onus from you as being the conduit for change. When you think it's all about you to save your family or save your community, then you will be consumed in that and burn out. But when you have a faith system that is bigger than you, that is saying that I actually sit high and look low, and I actually can move you through this, and I actually can see the next generation you can't even see. To a time right now that babies being born this year, in 2025, those babies more likely will see the age of 75 years or more. Those babies will more than likely see the year 2100. Let that sink in. Babies being born today will see the year 2100. And so in that, one of the things there that most of us probably won't see 2100.
I am. I don't know about you, but
Well, I mean, then you found some pretty good drugs. And if you did, it's in my caucus, we down with that. But more likely, we probably won't see that. But what we will see is our faith in our people. And what they will see from us is that if they are around, they will then thank us. The same way we thank Harriet Tubman and Ella Baker and everybody else, they will thank us, but they won't thank us if we're not voting. It's actually good. They're going to be like, you didn't vote in 2025. You were so short-sighted. You didn't know that 2100 was coming. And so you didn't vote because you let some AI or let something dissuade you.
That's right.
You didn't know that 2100 was going to need either your grandchild or your great-grandchild. You didn't know that we was going to need clean air and clean water in 2100. You didn't vote because you had Norfolk and was homecoming, and you decided you didn't. You didn't vote in 2025 because you couldn't even anticipate 2100 coming. That's how short-sighted you was. And because of that, that's one of the main reasons we got to vote, not only for 2025, but for the babies who want to see 2100.
wow, that was good. So Malice, I'll ask you a similar question. In your music, for several years, you talked a great deal about your faith. In the last album, you talked about your parents transitioning and how your father gave you permission to go back and share your gift with the world. I would love to hear from your perspective. One, how has faith played a role in your artistry? But then also, how are you utilizing faith, art, and then speaking specifically to Black men, from being from this area, how will you be engaged?
So for me, my faith, I am a follower of Jesus Christ. For there is no other name under the heavens given among men whereby we must be saved. So that is what I stand on. Faith in Jesus gives me absolutes. And absolutes is what I need. I need something concrete, unwavering, that does not change. Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. Without an absolute, your mind, your words can sway. Always changing, going with the times. And I have a real problem with that. I need to be flat-footed and rooted in something. The Bible answers all of my questions. I see a difference between the first time when I came out with the clips, and everything was under my own strength, my own trajectory, what I thought it should be, and then I just rap about it real good and convince others, I believe it was Shakespeare who says in his poem, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, just a bunch of talk, just a bunch of pomp and circumstance that really led to nothing. But this go round, I believe in what I'm saying. I believe it's worthwhile and to share, the message through my music. Like I said earlier, it's just a profound gift, and I have to be sure that I use it the way that it is supposed to be used. I don't know if I answered the
I think you
question.
gave us a sermon. That was you answered it. That was good. Thank you, brother.
All right, cool.
Let's turn a little bit to things that we see locally.